All right, guys, we are on topic 2, a new unit, and we are going to move to integers, all things integers, comparing, ordering, number line, opposites, absolute value, all the things. But this is our first day of just notes. And so a lot of these things may be old review for you, and some may be new. And so we're just going to refresh and learn. So starting with, make sure you have your pencil, okay? You have a pencil, you have your highlighter. Okay, you have your highlighter. And I really don't care what color you use anymore as long as you can see after you highlight that. So I have the number line. And so on the number line, well, I'm going to do it real quick. We're going to highlight this. The number line below helps us visualize positive and negative numbers, okay? So starting with that, 0 is at the center, okay? Negative to the left, positive to the right. So let's say positive numbers. Okay, yeah. Positive numbers are numbers that are greater than 0. Okay, so positive numbers are numbers that are greater than 0. Negative numbers are numbers that are less than 0. So what about 0? 0 is neither positive or negative. Okay? And opposites are two numbers that are the same distance for 0. So I want us to highlight that. This is going to be so helpful to know and understand, especially when we start talking about absolute value. But just know opposites are two numbers that are the same distance for 0. For example, 7, no, I'm going to go with 5 because it's on the number line. 5 and negative 5. So when you look at your number line, 5 is 5 steps from 0. Negative 5 is also 5 steps from 0. So they are the same distance from 0. Okay? Are you with that so far? Okay, great. I'm going to pause here for just a second. So integers. This is a very important definition. Integers include whole numbers and their opposites and 0. Okay, so integers include whole numbers and their opposites and 0. So for example, all of these integers are integers. It's a whole number. 17 is a whole number, okay? And it's positive. And I'm going to say over here, positive and negative. Positive and negative numbers, okay? So whole number. So an integer, first of all, has to be a whole number. There is no decimal. There is no fraction, okay? However, we'll get into if you can identify a fraction as a whole number. We'll get there. But for all intents and purposes right now, whole numbers and their opposites. So right here, we're going to name the opposite of each integer. The opposite of 17 is negative 17. So remember, opposites are two numbers that have the same distance from 0. Negative 9 is positive 9. 24 is negative 24. 58 is negative 58. Negative 31 is positive 31. And negative 140 is positive 140. Okay? Now, we're going to graph each integer on the number line, and then we're going to label the number line. Okay, so graph it first. So just like our example at the top, I always like to place the integer I'm graphing in the middle of my number line. So I'm gonna write -5, okay? Now, this is the tricky part. Please remember, because negatives can be tricky, when we move to the right, our integer gets bigger. And what I also want you to know too, the closer it is to 0, moving to the right, the bigger it is. So in this case, -4 is greater than -5 because it is closer to 0. Then I have -3, then I have -2. So when I'm going smaller, so as far as negative goes, my number looks like it's getting bigger, moving to the left. But when you add a negative symbol, it's getting smaller. And a way to look at that is, it's like when you owe your mom money, and the more you owe her, the less money you have, so the smaller your little pocketbook is, right? You know, look at number 8, number 2, we have 2, and then again, I'm going to work to the right, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then moving to the left, we're going to go smaller. So I have 1, then I have 0, and then I have -1. Okay? I'm going to put -11 in the center. Moving to the right, getting closer to 0 would be -10, -9, -8. Again, smaller, moving to the left. I act like I'm getting bigger. You know, I just write my number, and then I add my negative. Because remember, the more money you owe your mom, the smaller it is this way, okay? -34, okay? So I'm going to have -33 to the right because it's closer to 0, okay? And then getting smaller, -35, -36, -37, -52. So then moving to the right, closer to 0 is -51, -50, -49. Then I have -53, -54, -55. All right, so let's talk about representing situations with integers because there are real life situations. Okay, so we are going to highlight some of these vocabulary words because some of these words are going to identify positive or negative right off the bat. So highlight number 12, the word incline. Okay, the word incline means you're going up. So then I'm going to say that's positive. Okay. And if it's positive, I have a 13-foot incline. You're going to write 13. You don't write positive in front of it because all this time before we introduce negatives, it's positive never had a symbol in front of it because we know it's just positive. 8 feet above sea level. So above sea level. The thing about sea level is always 0. And then anything above is positive, anything below is negative. So when I say 8 feet above, number 8. Number 16, a 42-foot drop. Drop. Well, if I drop something, I'm going down, I'm going negative. So I'm going to write -42. Number 18, a debt of 120. Remember that number line? A debt. You owe money. So that's a negative. So I'm going to write negative, and I'm going to put my 120. Number 21, a 21-day extension. Highlight that word extension. When you get an extension, you get more time. That's positive. Okay. 16 below 0. Below is negative. So I'm going to put negative 16 in my little degrees. Okay. A $75 deposit. Deposit, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You want that. That's positive. Whew, we like deposits. We sure do. A 28-pound gain. Well, let me tell you what, that's not a happy thing. It's a positive. You know, it's when the scale goes up after you had cake for your birthday. You know, we're just gonna stop there. 28 pounds. A $15 discount. So it's negative. So we're gonna say negative. But you're like, wait, discount's a good thing. Hot dog it is. Hot dog it is. Discounts are a good thing, and we're reducing the total by 15. I know, right? A 900-foot descent. Descent is down. Descent is a good thing when you've been hiking for 20 miles and it's, you know, downhill at the end. I'm on board with that. So negative 900. Okay. So these are great vocabulary words. I would reference these if I'm ever confused, discombobulated, all the things when I'm doing my work. Fill in the circle using a less than or greater than symbol. Now ask yourself, when you are reading these, a really great thing to think about is what is closer to 0? Is positive 3 or negative 11? Yeah, positive 3. So positive 3 is greater than negative 11. Let's go down this way. Negative 9 or 0? Well, nothing's closer to 0 than 0, so 0 is greater. Positive 27 or negative 30? Ask yourself which one is closer to 0? 27. Negative 52 or negative 48? So hear me, friends. Which one is closer to 0? And if you're like, I don't know, think about it like this. If I'm counting backward, the first thing I'm going to hit counting backward is negative 48. So which one is closer to 0? That's right. Use your strategies anytime you can. I have negative 27 and negative 4. Who is closer to 0? Negative 4. I have negative 35 and negative 38. Who is closer to 0? Negative 35. I have negative 16 and positive 15. Okay? So, one thing I want us to understand, I didn't say this in number 26, but number 27. Positives are always going to trump negatives when comparing. Positives will always be greater than negatives. And we're just going to add a little statement. Positives are always greater than negatives. Okay? So when say you're on a TCAP question or a test or a quiz or whatever, right away you have a negative and a positive. Positives are always greater than negatives. Okay? Then I have negative 1 and negative 23. So this, and with my two negatives, okay, which one is closer to 0? Yeah. And here's another way to look at it. So I'm trying to give you all the helpful hints. If you have two negative numbers, which actual number like this, which one is smaller? Because that one is closer to 0. It's another way. Don't worry about the negative symbol, but just the number itself, right? Just all kinds of things to think about. So now we're going to order integers, okay? We're going to order each set of numbers from least to greatest, I always write a number line, okay, for this. So do like I'm doing. Excuse me. And I have 0. Now, as far as spacing goes, I'm not going to be picky about this, but because I want you to understand one thing: positives are always on the right side, and negatives are always on the left side. Okay, so I start with my positives, and I have 3 and 16. I'm counting over. I have 3 and then I have 16, okay? So what I do to make sure that I cover all of my integers, I highlight those little nuggets, highlight them, get them out of the way. Now all I have left is -4, -7, and -18. So if I'm counting backward, so always tell yourself counting backward. If I'm counting backward, what comes first? Yeah, -4, that's what comes first. Then, after -4, counting backward is -7. Then, counting backward, we have 18, okay? I highlight my integers to make sure that I've used them all. And now I'm going to go least to greatest. Do not add the 0. That's just a placeholder to help us see on both sides of my number line. So least. So we're going to work from left to right. Least is -18, then -7, -4, +3, +16. Okay. Number 31. I have a number line. 0 is going to be in the center. And again, look at your positive numbers first, the numbers that do not have a negative sign in front of them. And we're going to count. We're going to count up, starting with 20 and 20. And again, I don't care about your spacing right now. And if you want to just underline to say I've used it, that's fine too. 24 would be the next. Now I'm going to look at my negative numbers, and I'm going to count backward. Okay, so -1, -2, -3. So the first one I'll hit moving to the left would be -12. Then -24. Then -39. So least to greatest. So I have -39, -24, -12, 20, and 24, because remember, we're not using, using 0. 0 is not in my set. Until it is, like number 32. Okay. Hear that background noise? That's Maddie Tucker. She just walked in. It's okay, Maddie. No worries. I'm finishing my video. Just give me a moment, sister. So 0 is now in our set, so we're going to put it in the middle. It's our placeholder. Okay, I'm going to underline I've used it. Look for positive numbers first. 9, so 9 goes on the right side. Okay. And then counting backward. So I'm going to go -32 first, then -57, then -64. Okay? Then, oh, we didn't write this down, did we? Shame on me. -64, -57, -32, 0, and 9. All right? Number 33. I'm going to put 0 in the middle as a placeholder. And let's see. Ooh, I'm going to move 0 down. I'm going to move 0 down. You'll see why. Because all I have is a negative. So counting backward, I have -1. Then I have -3. Then I have -8. Then -13. Then -24. So writing this down, -24, -13, -8, -3, -1. So 34 says, in the past 5 days, the stock market has gained 40 points, lost 32 points, lost 15 points, lost 6 points, and gained 7 points. Write these values as integers and order them from least to greatest. So highlight this: gained 40, lost 32, lost 15, lost 6, gained 7. Okay, so I'm going to say positive, because lost is negative, lost is negative, lost is -6, gained is +7. And we're going to write them from least to greatest. So a number line again. Number line again. It's a negative again, so I'm going to put 0 in the middle. And I have, let's go positives first. So gained 40, gained 7. So 7 is closer to 0 than 40. Then what's closer? Negative 6. Then negative 15. And then rounded it out with negative 32. So negative 32, negative 15, negative 6, do not include 0, 7, and 40. That was a lot. Absolute value, we're going to touch on this, but we will be coming back. But this is a great thing to have in your notes. So the absolute value of a number is its distance from 0. That's it. And then as a notation, so how we write it, the absolute value of a number, x, is always written as this. That's what absolute value looks like. But one thing else I want you to write down here is that absolute value is always positive. Always positive. Okay, so find the absolute value. So the distance from 0, 2 is 2. So do you see I'm just going to rewrite my integer without a negative. Rewrite your integer without a negative. So absolute value of 0 is always 0 because 0 is itself. So I just want to touch that one last. And that is our notes for integers, but we've got more. We've got more. But wait, there's more.